So, my friends, I told you in the last video about Dexter that we would probably get a big plot twist in episode 6, and that's exactly what happened. And in my opinion, this episode was by far the best of the season. We had excitement, lots of dialogue, plot, and best of all, we got to see Dexter, right, playing along with a twisted serial killer. Yeah, besides that, everything points to things changing from now on, since we have Batista teaming up with a detective from New York to hunt down Dexter and Harrison Morgan. And this 6th episode was pure adrenaline from start to finish, just the way every fan of the original series likes it. And there's no denying it, right, my friend? What they're doing here with this new season of Dexter is a masterclass in how to revive an old series while keeping the same format, the same formula, without ruining anything, unlike so many other shows have done recently. And with that said, today we're here to talk with you about the 6th episode of Dexter Resurrection and all its details. So, if you like and are a fan of the Dexter series like I am, stick with me until the end of the video, because today we have a super complete review to talk about this 6th and wonderful episode, which in my opinion is the best of all. So stay with me until the end because it's packed with information. And now, without further ado, let's get into the video. Hey everyone! Welcome to another video here on the channel. I'm Jeff, and here's another video for us to talk about Dexter Resurrection, this new season of Dexter that, for me, has been one of the best. Not just for me, right, but for the critics too, since the episodes have been getting amazing ratings, even being compared to one of the best seasons of the original Dexter series, which is the Trinity season. I always tell you guys this because I'm loving it more with every episode, okay? Episode 5 was a bit slower, but they were getting us ready for the punch that was going to be this 6th episode, because I really wasn't prepared for the plot twist that happened at the end of this episode. So if you, like me, enjoyed this episode, I'm already asking you to leave a like before we start talking about it, because that really helps me out. And if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. And now, without further ado, let's talk about the 6th episode of Dexter. So, in the previous video here, when I analyzed the preview for the 6th episode, I mentioned to you guys my theory that something really big could happen and leave fans shocked. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what happened? But before we get into the main point of the episode, let's start from the beginning, right? The episode already opens by giving us some very sad news, terrible news, that Prudence had died and that Blessing was going to hold a wake, and he was inviting Dexter to join the whole family at this wake for Prudence. And right there, at the beginning of the episode, we get a sweet moment between Dexter and Harrison, where, as they're getting ready to go to Prudence's wake, they talk about grief, about their feelings, even bringing up Hannah and even Rita in the conversation. And we see them getting closer and closer now, really, as father and son. In that way, Dexter always wanted to have that affection with Harrison but never managed to, unlike in Dexter New Blood, where we didn't see all this closeness between the two, right? And I also don't think that just because Dexter is a serial killer, that makes him a bad person. In fact, he has his code. He doesn't kill innocent people, right? And above all, he cares about his son, just like a good father would. That scene where the two of them are talking is really beautiful, and there's a quick moment, just a glimpse, where they appear in the mirror and you see all 3 generations of the Morgans together, Harry, Harrison, and Dexter. And I thought it was really cool that they did that quick shot there, even though it was a very brief scene, to show the 3 of them together, even if Harry is just Dexter's conscience. In my opinion, maybe this season is doing a much better job of exploring Dexter's human side than any other season. And still talking about Prudence's funeral, there was a moment during Dexter's speech, right, and I don't mean any harm by this, but I laughed so hard at him trying to force himself to cry, searching for some reason to pay tribute to Prudence, and the only thing he ends up finding is the food, so he says her food was really good. That was such a great scene, man. Dexter trying to cry and still managing to move everyone around him. Another storyline we saw was Charlie going to Red's apartment looking for Dexter and not finding anything, realizing that the apartment was clearly abandoned and moldy everywhere, especially on the food. But Dexter, as always, turned things around by tricking Prenter, saying he moved so that no one would have his address anymore, so no one could find him, right? And I don't know about you guys, okay? But to me, Dexter's reasoning there is just out of this world. The speed at which this guy can think and come up with excuses is unbelievable. If it were me, I would definitely lose track of the character and have no idea what to do. So once again, we have the serial killers meeting there, right? With Printer, since everyone was desperate about Laurel's disappearance and also, Mia's arrest that happened in the last episode. But one thing I noticed right away in this scene was that Garrett, he was way more active, talking a lot more, even bothering Dexter every time he started bragging, saying he was #1 on the FBI's most wanted list. He was totally different from the Garrett we saw back in episode 4, who was a more mysterious guy, someone who kept to himself and was quieter. Here, he was super talkative, even talking too much. But let's talk a bit more about Garrett here, because at the same time, we end up seeing Batista, right, going after Claudette. And just like I mentioned in my last video to you guys, he ends up telling her everything, telling the detective about Dexter, about his way of killing, and about him being the Real Bay Harbor butcher. And even with Mia in custody, he was sure that the one who killed Ryan Foster wasn't Mia, but Harrison, since he used the same method Dexter used to kill and get rid of the body. Plus, Dexter was in a coma at that time. But clearly, the detective already knew, because a few minutes earlier, we saw her interrogating Mia's victim, and he ended up telling her that Mia had mentioned during the torture that he would be her first victim in New York, making it clear to the detective that she wasn't the one who killed Ryan. That finally made her team up with Batista in this crazy hunt for Dexter, and this time, for Harrison too. Now, moving toward the end of the episode, we see Dexter digging a little deeper into the twin killer case, even following him to a library. Oh, just a quick note here. I thought Dexter's reaction was really good when he opens up the serial killer book and sees his media nickname in there, but it's mentioning Dokes as the Real Bay Harbor butcher. We know that when Dokes died, he ended up taking the fall because Dexter pinned everything on him, and the only one who really knows the true identity of the Bay Harbor butcher is Batista. So yeah, his reaction was really well done. Then, in one of the last scenes of the episode, we see the cherry on top. Gareth follows Dexter to his house, and the two have a conversation. In the end, Gareth thinks he's smarter and more clever than Dexter, bragging that he was #1 at his college, but he ends up getting outsmarted by Dexter, falling flat on his face, and on top of that, he gets tranquilized, which ultimately leads to his death at Dexter's hands. But it was a shame, because what I really wanted was to learn a bit more about how he hunted, since Dexter didn't even give him a chance to really talk before killing him. The only thing we saw was that he killed in pairs and had a sort of pattern, as shown when he killed the father and the teenage son, but it's never mentioned how he finds this pattern of people he wants to kill. Now, I don't know about you, but when Blessing went into the bathroom to fix the towel on the bathtub, man, I was on edge during that scene because if he had messed with that bath towel even a little, he would have ended up finding Garrett's body in the tub, and then things would have gotten bad for him, because Dexter would have had to take care of Blessing too, right? And that would have been a shame, because he seems like a good guy. And besides that, another one of my theories ended up coming true. Yes, we had her death, Mia's, at the end of the episode, where we see she was killed on Prother's orders, since it was Charlie who paid the cop to do it. They probably did it because they were afraid she might spill the beans or something like that. But anyway, I wanted to get to know her character a bit more. She seemed interesting, but she was barely explored in the series. But what can you do, right? And then we finally got to that long-awaited ending with the huge plot twist I mentioned to you guys. Yeah, my friends, during the scene where Preether gathers all the serial killers to go on some kind of trip, right? He says it's a surprise for Dexter inside the helicopter. And then we see none other than Gareth showing up in the final scene. And you might be asking me, how, Jeff, how? That's when it finally clicks for Dexter where the name the Gemini Killer comes from, or as it's translated into Portuguese. The Gemini Killer. And the episode ends by revealing that now Dexter will have to deal with another character who is actually the same person, Gareth, but the brother who isn't dead. And everything points to the fact that this is the one who showed up at the first meeting, at the serial killer's dinner. A cold, mysterious guy who definitely won't make things easy for Dexter. But I want to know from you. Comment down below which scene you liked the most from this 6th episode, and tell me if you think it was the best one, just like I do, because I really enjoyed it a lot. And that final plot twist scene, my god, I was really missing a good plot twist in this series, and I ended up being super surprised. Now, we just have to see how Dexter is going to deal with Gareth and also with Preetha, right? Because it seems like he's also starting to figure out the true identity. If he hasn't already, maybe he's just playing along like Dexter does. Besides that, how is Harrison going to manage to escape now that Batista is working together with Claudette and knows the truth about the Bay Harbor Butcher? Honestly, this episode was the best of the season for me so far, and it looks like it's only going to get better until the end. Remember, there will be 10 episodes. So that's it. If you enjoyed the video up to this point, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to hype it up, hit the hype button down below. You help me out a lot. Let's try to reach the top 6. If you help me, we can get there. I'll see you in the next video. If you want to become a member, it's just $4.99. See you later, thanks, and I'm out.